The Indiana Hoosiers stay hot on the recruiting trail.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into this, the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV and YouTube. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, thank you so much for being here, making Locked On Hoosiers your first listen, your first watch every single day. Shout out to you, my everydayers, who are here Monday through Friday, no matter what is going on. And I appreciate you and making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. Well, the Indiana Hoosiers continue to stay hot on the recruiting trail as the fall recruiting window has opened. They're going wherever they got to go to see the biggest names they can see to try to land them in Bloomington. We'll talk about that today, how they've already gone to see Braylon, Mullins, and Jalen Haralson. Plus, we'll break those guys down a little bit because there's some news in terms of what September 20th could look like as well. More on that later. And then Curt Cignetti did his weekly coaches show. It was a day early because of the football team playing on Friday, and we'll talk about what he had to say and start to preview week 2 for Indiana and Western Illinois. Well, the Hoosiers are staying hot on the recruiting trail in high school basketball, and we know that this is crunch time. I told you this yesterday on the show. It's crunch time for Indiana basketball in high school recruiting. Of all the big names that we're going after, you've got to go after. You got to go after them now. Go full throttle. And you got to try and lock them down. And it's not easy, right? It's not easy to do this, especially when you consider all of the big programs that are involved with a lot of these guys. Kentucky, UConn, Kansas. I mean, just the biggest programs in the country are going right there alongside you step for step. And so Indiana is trying to keep pace and I think trying to get a lead in some of these as well. But just this week already, since the period has opened, Indiana has gone to see Jalen Haralson in person, which, yeah, he was just here this past weekend. And I told you a little bit about this yesterday where he was just here this weekend for his visit, which I think went really, really well. Had his entire family here, had the players reunion here. He had a player from the 50s that was here, man. That's a really cool thing. And it went really well. But then when they had the chance, the first chance Indiana had by the rules to go see him, they did. They left Bloomington. They went to see him in person. And I think that speaks volumes. I really, really do. They also, and they went 4 deep now. They went 4 people, 4 coaches, Mike Woodson and 3 assistants. They went to see Haralson. They also did the same thing with Braylon Mullins. They did the exact same thing. They went to see him as well. And we've known for a while, right, that Braylon Mullins has his official visit set for September 20th. He's going to be visiting with his Indiana elite teammate, Trent Sicily, as far as we know for now. And that is one that they've been working on for a long, long time. But yet, when they got the chance, they went to see him. They had the chance to go see him at his school, and they did. Now, UConn has an official, or I guess not official, but they have an in-home visit coming up this week as well, and his visit has already taken place to UConn. And by all accounts, it went really, really well. Okay, so keep that in mind. Indiana's been in that one since the beginning, and I think they'll be in it till the end. But it will come down to possibly a coin flip, possibly a 50-50. But what I love, and I cannot stress this enough, what I love about Indiana and what they're doing in recruiting is they're not letting back, or they're not letting up. They're not holding back. They are giving it everything they have to make this happen. And I've seen some of you in the YouTube comments, and I appreciate you being down there. Be sure you leave your thoughts below. I've seen a lot of you talk about, well, Jacob, we've been in it with big recruits before, but we just haven't landed them. Well, we're good for one or two a class. That's just what Indiana does. And I get where you're coming from. I do. Because, yeah, we've been burned a lot in the past, haven't we? We've been burned by a lot of big name recruits that Indiana has recruited for 3, 4, 5 years. Gets down to the end. Hoosiers are in the top 3. We've done everything we need to do. And they go to Purdue, or they go to Kansas, or they go to Duke, or they go to Kentucky, or wherever the case may be, right? We've been burned. And so a lot of you are talking out of PTSD, and I understand. I get it. But what I'm hoping for and what I'm almost trying to speak into existence is I'm ready for that to change. I'm ready for that to be different and for Indiana to win some of these recruiting battles. Because if you want my true 2 cents on this, Mike Woodson's job relies on this. It relies on him landing the biggest recruits in the country, because it's been proven if you don't have the best players, you're not going to win games and win championships. Flat out, period. That's not breaking news to anybody. And Mike Woodson can get good players, and the transfer portal is a big, big addition that can help coaches like Woody out. But I'm still a firm believer in the high school recruiting ranking. I still believe that high school recruiting over time will win you more championships than transfer portal additions. I just believe that. And so for Woody to be here long-term, win games, and compete for championships, I think the 2025 class could tell us everything we need to know. Can he break the curse, right? Can he get over that hump here at Indiana and land a top 10 player, Michael Brown, a top 15 player in Jalen Haralson, a top 30 player in Braylon Mullins? And can he land multiple at a time? Can he do that? A top 50 player in Eric Reibe? Like, those are the guys we have been after, and we've got to start getting. I'm tired, too, of being there at the end and then getting burned. It sucks. It hurts, and I'm tired of it, too. And so that has to change. And Mike Woodson, his entire staff, they're doing everything they can to change that by staying hot on the recruiting trail, bringing in as many guys as they can to Bloomington, and they're going out to see as many guys as they can, and they'll be there in the end, but it's time to get over the hump. Stay hot, but get over the hump and land some of these big-time 2025 recruits. Well, coming up on Locked On Hoosiers, speaking of some of those guys, want to dive a little deeper on them some. Haralson, Mullins, and, oh yeah, Reibe, who is going to be here at a very specific time for Indiana basketball. Have that coming up for you next on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel. They're America's #1 sports book. Well, we've got something a little different for you today. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers, yes, you, all FanDuel customers can bet $5, just $5, and get a 3 free week trial. Okay, a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. I love my NFL Sunday Ticket. I have it through YouTube TV, and I'm telling you, it's worth it. And when it's free, why not try it out, right? All you got to do is bet $5 with FanDuel. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. So visit FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. Welcome back to Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for making Locked On Hoosiers your first listen, your first watch every single day. A reminder that this show is free to you every day. Audio, video, Monday through Friday, reaction episodes, bonus episodes, all the extra content, our reels, our polls, everything like that on YouTube and social media. It's all free. So if you're looking for an easy way to help out the show, first thing you can do on video on the YouTube side of things, you can like this video, okay? Send it to everybody you know, all your Indiana people, family, friends, coworkers, doesn't matter. Send it to them, make sure that they're a part of this as well. Be sure you comment down below. Is 2025, is this recruiting class, is Mike Woodson's job reliant on this class in particular? Is this it? Does this tell us everything we need to know about the future of Mike Woodson? Curious on how you feel about that. So comment that down below. And then the best way to help us out is subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's free, takes 2 taps. Hit our show logo, hit subscribe. You'll be notified when we take an episode or post an episode every single day. So be sure you do that to help us out, okay? Audio listeners, follow us, turn on notifications. That way you don't miss an episode either. All of you are my everydayers, and I really do appreciate it. Well, Jalen Haralson, Braylon Mullins, 2 guys that the Indiana Hoosiers have been on for so long, and we've had a lot of conversations on this particular show about those 2 players, but it's hard not to talk about them because of what they could bring to Indiana basketball. You're talking about 2 players in the 2025 class who are just absolutely elite, man. They're just so talented. You start with Braylon Mullins, the Indiana kid himself, 6'5", 180 pounds shooting guard. He's massive, and he can shoot the lights out of the gym, okay? He's one of the best shooters in the class. And if you remember with Braylon Mullins, this was a kid who nobody except Indiana and a couple of others were even talking about, even knew existed, because he just kind of flew under the radar. And then all of a sudden, big name programs started finding him. And then UConn found him. And then it was like, boom, and it just blew up, and everybody found out who Braylon Mullins was. And good news for him, not only did a lot of programs find him, and I'm talking for him in particular here, not only did a lot of programs discover who he was in Braylon Mullins, he got better as well. Like, he took a major step forward in his game, and that also helped him. So it all just worked out really, really well for Braylon, and I'm happy for him. I'm proud of him, and I hope that it works out for him no matter where he ends up. But, of course, we'd love to see him right here in Bloomington playing for Indiana basketball, the hometown team. And we've talked about how he can fit into Mike Woodson's system. He's going to be the shooting guard that can dribble, he can shoot, he can drive, he can defend, he can do everything that you need him to do. He's tall, he's lengthy, and he's going to be a really good player, or will be, or could be a good player in Mike Woodson's system. And it's one of these types of guys where, again, I go back to what I believe and what I think still works in college basketball, especially in this state where it's not just basketball, it's more than that, right? I still believe that the state of Indiana and locking that down year to year is crucial for success, for our success here in Indiana. Like, look, are there other places that don't worry about locking down their state? Yeah, sure, because there's other states that don't compare to what we have in high school basketball. But we've got some of the best talent in the country right here in our state. And I still believe that locking that down is very important. Braylon Mullins is a perfect example of that. You get him here and he plays for Indiana, doesn't have to leave. That shows other recruits, hey, we can do that too. So I think Mullins is just perfect for this recruiting class. I think he's perfect for this program, and I think he's perfect for the future of what Indiana basketball can be. And the Hoosiers are doing everything they can to get him here. Same thing with Jalen Haralson. They're staying on him, one of the best players in the class. We've told you everything there is to know about him. He's got it all. He is a true package player, a full package player, if you will, because he's just got it all. Defensively, I think is somewhere he could step up a little bit in his game. But overall, I think he's got it all. And I think he is a program-changing player. I think Michael Brown Jr., we talked about him yesterday on the show. He is a program-changing player. Those types of guys can literally change the direction of where your program is heading. And look, if Woody wants to do the process of let's get a few high school guys and continue to hit the portal hard, fine, go that route. That's okay. but you've got to get the high school guys. One per year will not get it done. It just won't, because I hate to burst the bubble. I really do. But you're not going to pull the top transfer class every single season. You're not going to do what we just did, because this past year was insane. Insane to do what we did. 2 starting guards, a starting center, and 2 forwards that could be starting, were starting at their other programs, some of them playing Power 4, Power 5 basketball. That's not going to happen year over year, okay? It's amazing that it did, but it's not an every year occurrence, which means you've got to be successful in the high school ranks. You can't swing and miss on everybody that you go after. That includes Mullins and Haralson. And oh yeah, did you forget about Eric Reibe? I didn't. We didn't. And I don't think you did either. And I'm sure you saw the news. We'll have some more on this on tomorrow's show. He's going to be here earlier than expected. His visit was supposed to be in October. Yeah, no more. It's this month. It's September 20th, coming up in just a couple of weeks. And if that date sounds familiar, it's because that's when Braylon Mullins and Trent Sisley will be here as well. Talk about a huge opportunity for Mike Woodson and this staff to have those 3 players on campus at the exact same time. There's got to be a game plan for that. There has to be a strategy. And again, more on this on tomorrow's show. We'll do some football preview and also talk about this. But just to keep it short really quick here, there better be a game plan to do whatever it takes on that weekend. I don't care. I don't care how much it costs. I don't care what you got to do or where you got to go. Put them in a helicopter and fly them over the football stadium. I don't care. Make their weekend special. And the fact that it was already going to be crazy, and we've already been looking forward to it with Mullins and Sisley, 2 teammates that'll be here at the same time. You add in a top 30 player in the country, one of the best centers in the country, who has moved his visit up to be here quicker. I think that speaks volumes. And I think there's something to that. So we'll have more on that as well. But keep that date in mind, September 20th. Okay? Braylon Mullins, Trent Sisley, and now Eric Reibe, who's one of the best centers in the class. Indiana's still looking for one of those. They're all going to be here at the same time. And I would consider that staying hot on the recruiting trail. Well, coming up in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, Curt Cignetti had his weekly coaches show previewing Indiana football's Week 2 game against Western Illinois. What'd Coach have to say? Some things good, some things bad, and some things were just straight up honest. We'll have that for you coming up in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you cannot find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70%, that's right, 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, it's simple. You're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. That's one day. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. 2.5 million small businesses are using LinkedIn for hiring. So what are you waiting for? Join the 2.5 million businesses that are using LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you again so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. And look, we continue to grow. I'm telling you, we're growing over here. I'm not lying. It's an everyday occurrence, and you are the reason for that. So thank you so much. Our current subscriber count, we've grown really well this week. 2,814. All right, so well on our way to 2,900. I'd love to get to 3,000 subscribers very, very soon. So help us out with that. Appreciate you being a part of that. And all my everydayers, you are the reason we continue to grow. And by the way, since this is your first listen, your first watch every day, I know you wouldn't dare go anywhere else, right? Your second watch and second listen of the day needs to be Locked On College Football. It's football season. We're into week 2, some really big games across the country. And if you're watching this as it comes out Thursday morning, be on the lookout for the Big Ten Preview Week 2 show that comes out today on this channel. So watch out for that. But go check out Locked On College Football, okay? Spencer does a phenomenal job. As much as I hate and it pains me to say, he does a great job with that, and his Locked On Ducks show. If you really want to go watch Oregon stuff, you're more than welcome to do that. But my suggestion is Locked On College Football, okay? He covers all the biggest storylines, all the biggest games, and all the biggest news on Locked On College Football. He does a great job. There's a lot of big games in week 2, including Texas and Michigan, right? Big chance for the Wolverines to represent the Big Ten this weekend. Go check it out. Type it in. Once we're done here, Locked On College Football, and tell Spencer that Jacob from Locked On Hoosiers sent you. Type that in his YouTube comments. He'd love to see it. All right, speaking of college football, Curt Cignetti had his weekly coaches show. It was a day early just because of Indiana playing a day early. Got to keep reminding everybody, and to be quite honest, got to keep reminding myself that we play on Friday and not on Saturday. I don't like it, but it is what it is. Friday night game against a FCS opponent who's on a 25-game losing streak. Yeah, maybe not the most exciting game in the world on a national landscape. But for us, I do think there are things to focus on and look at here. And that's what Curt Cignetti talked about last night on his coach's show, okay? Talked about just the game itself, had a lot of the same stats and things like that he had in his early press conferences. He did talk about how you try to, coach with a lead. And when you have a big lead, how you have to, he said, keep the hammer down and keep your guys focused, keep them ready to play, and don't let them overlook an opponent, even in the middle of a game. And I think that's fascinating to hear, because how many times do you see that, especially with a rebuilding program in some of these games where they get up big on a bad opponent, they just let up. They just kind of go through the motions and go with the flow, and it ends up not being as good as you thought it was. And so if there's one thing we've learned with Curt Cignetti is he's not going to let that happen. He's not going to let that fly. That's not his MO. That's not how he rolls. And I love to hear that. I really, really do, because he talks about it here. He says, quote, "We had a huge missed assignment on a run, right, that brought them down to the goal line, and they got it in on the next play. Wasn't pleased because they were getting the ball first in the second half. It goes from a 21-0 to a 2-score game. And if they punch it in again, all of a sudden it's a 1-score game." He said the defense responded, but that just puts it in perspective. Like, sure, you're up 21-0, but it only takes a couple of plays for them to be right back in the game. And that's not something you want to mess around with, whether it's FIU, Western Illinois, UCLA next week. Like, those things you don't want to mess around with. The football gods are crazy, right? And you don't want to mess with them. So I like that he brings that up. Talked about the penalties a lot more, and how that just, it can't happen, man. And he says, look, the things we're doing are inexcusable. They're nothing crazy. They're holds on the outside. They're false starts and offsides. Like, week 1, sure, he gets it, but those things can't happen. Luckily, he believes that they can be cleaned up. He goes on to say the defense played really well. Aiden Fisher, Jalen Walker played really, really well. And they did. They absolutely did. Tackling was solid. He said that the other day. That's something that I highlighted. Here's the one I want to end on today. He was asked about fans leaving early from Memorial Stadium, which I'm not a fan of. I'm not a supporter of fans leaving early, students leaving early, things like that. I know the game was out of hand. I know it was FIU. But, man, this is game 1. It's game 1. We got to hang out. We got to stay. We got to support this team and these players and this new coaching staff. I think that's just as important. And Cignetti's got some good quotes. You can go find it. I've got the whole transcript pulled up on Indiana Hoosiers on SI, just the Indiana Sports Illustrated site. They do a phenomenal job over there. And you can go and read the whole transcript here. But he says, I normally don't notice the crowd, but I did on Saturday. I noticed that people left. I noticed it was empty in the second half. I noticed that the students were gone. And he says that he understands that winning and success on the field leads to fans supporting the program more, But he is asking for some of that in advance, right? He's asking for a down payment on that, if you will, because the support will help the players play better. He admitted they want that. They need that, especially in big games once we get into conference play. Yeah, they're going to have that. And so hopefully that all comes together. And he knows, he says that I want the best. I want to be the best in everything we do. That should be the goal. And, it's baby steps. He understands it's a give and take here. And so for that, I was impressed that they asked the question, and then I like that he answered it. And he was like, yeah, I did notice it, that you guys left, and I don't want that to happen anymore. And I really, really like that. He was asked about Western Illinois, and we'll wrap it up with this. Look, they're a 25-loss straight team. All right. They're a team. Let me say that in a better way. They're a team that's lost 25 straight games, okay? It's a team that's just not very good, but Cignetti gave the perfect coaching answer, right? They don't have a history of great success recently. We got to keep our standards high and go out there and play with a lot of energy, go play in, play out, and execute. That's the big thing he's about, is execution, and that's exactly the type of answer that you'd want from him. We'll have a full preview on tomorrow's show, but quick thoughts. We're better than them. Go in, get out, don't get hurt, win the game, and we move ahead to UCLA next week, okay? Full breakdown on that tomorrow, plus some more basketball things, maybe diving in a little bit more on the September 20th date now for Indiana basketball with Mullins, Sisley, and Reibe all being on campus at the same time. Can they stay hot on the trail? Guess we'll have to see that tomorrow. Preview tomorrow. Looking around the Big Ten. It's a big weekend of college football. That's coming up on tomorrow's show as well. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. Shout out to my everydayers, man. If you are one, thank you. If you're not, it's really simple. Just come back every day. Truly make this your first listen, your first watch every single day. This show is free to you every day, so keep that in mind. You never pay for this show, and that's one of the best perks that we have at the Locked On Podcast Network. If you have not already, like this video, comment down below on YouTube, okay? How does Indiana beat Western Illinois? What do you want to see from the Hoosiers this Saturday? I want to hear your thoughts down below. Be sure you subscribe to the channel. Don't go anywhere without doing that, though, okay? And come back tomorrow, won't you? We'll wrap up the week here on Locked On Hoosiers. Until then, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.